Today's kind of a sad day because I'm doing something I haven't done before on this channel, and that is a book unhaul. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. My name's Theo. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. Today, I'm doing something, like I said, I've never done before on this channel, and I haven't done really a whole lot before, like ever. And that is, I'm getting rid of a bunch of books. Basically, I went through a bit of a book buying, spree over the last, I would say, couple years. And I've kind of redone my shelves. And obviously I have too many books. I have a shelf here. I have a shelf in another room. I have too many books and I need to get organized and buy some more shelves. But I haven't been able to find kind of the setup that I want yet. So I have redone my library a little bit. I've bought a lot of books that are popular and books that I want to read and books that I really enjoy. I go out and buy the physical if maybe I read it in another format. So I'm acquiring books that I really enjoy, and it turns out I have some that I either need to replace or some that I haven't read yet that I probably don't think I'll ever get to. So for a few different reasons, I'm going to be getting rid of some books, and some of them will surprise you, but as I said, I have my reasons. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the books that I'm going to be getting rid of. This is going to be in no particular order, but I think I'll start with this one because there's a book that just came out, and it's I think it's like a biography about this author, and I've enjoyed his big series, which is Discworld, but this book is a kind of a joint collaboration between Terry Pratchett and Stephen Baxter, and this is the first book in, I believe, a 5-book series called The Long Earth series, and this first book is called The Long Earth. I think I'll go ahead and read kind of a little synopsis of this one. It gets 3.78 on Goodreads, which is not terrible. The premise sounds good. I think that's why I ended up buying this one. I think I bought this one used way back in the day. It has a sticker on the back, and I just don't think it's something I'll get to. I'll read you the synopsis. It says, cop Monica Jansen is exploring the burned out home of a reclusive scientist when she finds a curious gadget, a box containing some wiring, a 3-way switch, and a potato. It's a prototype of an invention that will change the way mankind views the world forever. And so that sounds pretty cool. I guess it's like a sci-fi type book. It's a fairly small one. Obviously, this is a mass market paperback, but it's only like, 400 pages. So I don't know. It's something that's been on my shelf for quite a few years now. It's not something that I've prioritized. I haven't really heard anyone else talk about this really. And it's really just taking up space. That and the fact that this is in sort of the small mass market format. It's not my preferred format. I don't really like reading these unless I'm traveling or whatever, but I read more and more ebooks now. So this doesn't really suit my whatever preferences right now. So I think I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this. For all the books that I'm going to mention, I might sell some. I might just donate some. I might do a little trip. We have a ton of those little kind of free libraries. So I might do a little bit of a round and see if I can't maybe, pick up something that interests me in return, or just donate these to, hopefully get them a better home. The next one, and actually I should say the next two, you guys are going to be very familiar with. And before you guys unsubscribe and get upset and send me nasty messages or whatever, hear me out on my reasons for these. So this one is The Name of the Wind by Patrick Rothfuss and A Wise Man's Fear, which is the sequel. Now, hear me out. Basically, so again, I bought these years ago when they were pretty popular. I mean, they still are revered by tons of people. And I hear these talked about an awful lot. I started reading this one and I got probably about halfway through before I DNF'd it. And it has nothing to do with the book. I was really busy at the time. I didn't really have a whole lot of time to read. And I was immersed. I was pretty intrigued with the story. I was following Quoth and, him telling his story to the innkeeper and kind of recounting his tales. And we go through kind of his time in the troupe and, singing and learning a little bit about the name of the wind or calling the wind or whatever. I can't remember. But it got to the point where I had to put this down because I got so busy. And one thing leads to another. And as you guys know, if you leave something for too long, it's kind of hard to go back to. And it's not a small book. These are, again, the mass market paperbacks. They're pretty chunky. So here's why I'm getting rid of these ones. Because for The Name of the Wind, I have this beautiful 10th anniversary edition. I quite like this cover. I know a lot of people, some people don't. I think it's beautiful. It has this blood red sprayed edges. I think there's some like illustrations and stuff in it. There's kind of just beautiful like calligraphy and stuff in there. So, if I'm going to read The Name of the Wind again, which I will, I just don't know exactly when, I am going to read it out of this edition because it's gorgeous. And I don't know if we're going to get a 10th anniversary edition of A Wise Man's Fear. I think this is probably due for one. Forgive me, I don't know when this came out, but if I'm going to read it, I'm going to read it out of here. And then if I enjoy it enough to continue, I'll buy a different format. Again, I'm not a fan of these mass market paperbacks. I don't actually know why I bought these or how I acquired them. I think one was a gift. I bought the first one, then I asked for the second one. I don't know. I just don't like the format. So I'm going to give these away because they're wildly popular books. I know lots of people out there are going to thoroughly enjoy them. And I'm going to stick with this edition of The Name of the Wind. And when I get to it, I get to it. And if I want to continue, I'll buy a different format. For now, these are going to go to the library along with the other ones. Another book that I'm going to be giving away is this book by Kim Stanley Robinson. And this is a book called 2312. This one gets 3.5 stars on Goodreads. You may or may not have seen or heard about this one. It is a hard sci-fi novel, takes place 300 years in the future, just less than that now because it's already 2022. I can't even believe that. But anyway, so this is in a world where humans have terraformed every planet and asteroid and moon imaginable. They've done everything they can to expand in the solar system and spread out as far as they can. And stuff happens. There's a planet, I think it's actually Mercury, where something happens. There's politics, there's terrorism, there's, different factions. There's some themes explored with capitalism and religion and stuff, I'm pretty sure. I don't know a whole lot except for just, going through a few synopses to kind of get an idea of what intrigued me when I first bought this book. I think choosing this book had something to do with the fact that it won, I believe, in 2013, the Nebula Award for Best Novel, and it was nominated, I think, for a Hugo and some other awards. So that's probably why I chose it. But yeah, I'm just looking at it right now. I believe, you know what? I actually got this used in Portland at Powell's, and I paid $5 for it, and that was years ago. So it was one that I just picked off the shelf, thought it looked interesting. And now my reading tastes have, I wouldn't say changed, but developed. I know what I like now and I know what I don't. And I believe that there is a sort of prequel to this that came out later called 2140, takes place in New York and has to do with like the climate changing and a bunch of stuff happens and floods and all this stuff. And is probably the precursor to what happened to make everybody need to leave Earth. So yeah, I don't know. Right now, looking at it, looking through Goodreads, looking at synopses, not really something that grabs me anymore. I do think if I were to read it, I'd enjoy it well enough. It's just not something that I want to prioritize over my other books at this moment. So I'm going to go ahead and put that in the Unhaul pile, take it to a little library or give it away or donate it in some other way, or maybe find a friend that might want to read it. So yeah, that's it. 2312 by Kim Stanley Robinson. The next book that I'm giving away or donating or in some other way unhauling is one of my favorite books from one of my favorite authors. And you're probably like, what the hell are you doing, Theo? Well, that's Dark Matter by Blake Crouch. And if you've watched some of my older book hauls, you'll know that I was lucky enough to find a used copy of this book in a beautiful hardcover that matches my recent book that he just released, Upgrade. And the only other one that I need to get in the matching hardcover of the most recent releases that are sort of following this style of cover in North America is Recursion. And so when I found the Dark Matter hardcover, it was in mint condition. I paid just a few bucks for it. So I grabbed it and I thought, well, you know what? I don't need 2 copies of it. So I love this book. I love this author. I did a whole video on why you should read and where to start with Blake Crouch because he has a bunch of different books. He has a series. He has, every book touches on different scientific sort of themes and human themes. He's become sort of an auto-buy author for me. And yeah, this is just a duplicate. Don't really need it. I think other people can enjoy it. And I want to get more people reading Blake Crouch. So I'm going to find another home for this one. The next one that I want to get rid of is one that I read in a group buddy read. And it's a book that is sort of a booktube darling, or at least was a little while ago. And it's one that a lot of people really enjoyed. Most people that read this book really liked it. Surprisingly, me and a group of 3 friends read this together, and none of us really loved it. We all thought it was okay. I think we all gave it probably in the neighborhood of like 3 stars, and it just didn't really work for us. We understood what made it. I'll just tell you, it's Pure and Essie by Susanna Clark. This is one where we could all tell what made this book special. It was very unique. There's not a whole lot I can say about this without spoiling it. Sorry, this one has a bit of glare. I was trying out a way to protect books, that are soft covers that have really nice covers. I was trying to find a way to protect them, and I found this like sticky kind of whatever, and it ended up looking like a library book, so whatever. So this one is basically one where you can't really say a whole lot without spoiling it. The mystery was cool. The character was okay. He was a little bit annoying. He's very, very naive in this book. He's basically trapped in this labyrinth of a house with all these columns and plinths and statues, and it's sort of never ending. And there's one other person called the Other that's in this building or house. And there's this mystery of why he's there and who this other person is and his memories. He's keeping a journal, and it's kind of written that way where you follow these journal entries for the most part. And, it was well done. The ending I sort of saw coming about 2/3 of the way through, and it was okay. It was a fun read. I'm glad I read it. I'm glad I participated in that sort of conversation because this book was, like I said, making its rounds. It just didn't really do much for me. I haven't thought about it since I read it. I would recommend it to people that I think might enjoy it. And I want to try Susanna Clarke's other books, the Dr. What is it called? I have it on the back here. Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell. So I want to read that one, but this one didn't really do much for me. So for that reason, I'm going to get rid of this, just make some more room for some new books. The next one is one that I bought when it first came out, and I wasn't able to get to it. And I was kind of waiting to hear what other people had to say. And what people had to say wasn't very good. That one is The Emperor's Blades by Brian Staveley. This one gets a 4.08 on Goodreads, which is actually pretty good. And it opens with the Emperor's murder and his son and 2 daughters, or 2 sons and daughter, or something like that, kind of get wrapped up in this whole thing. And there's training for assassins or something, and there's politics and like court drama. And it's book 1 of the Unhewn Throne series. I don't know how many books it's going to be, maybe a trilogy, because that's what fantasy people do. But yeah, this is one where Alan over at the Library of Alexandria and Jimmy Nuts over at the Fantasy Network and a bunch of other people kind of like read this as a buddy read or read along. And it just fell really flat for a lot of people. I've heard really mixed things about this. And I don't even want to say I've heard mixed things. I've heard mostly bad things about this. So it's unfortunate. It just doesn't sound like, I mean, apparently from the synopsis, like it sounds like it would be cool. And then it doesn't really follow what it doesn't deliver on what it promises. It's not what you would expect. And I've heard, like I said, just not great things about it. And so because of what I have prioritized, because I know my tastes, because I know that my tastes align with specific reviewers, booktubers, friends, whatever, that didn't really like this one. And I've since acquired quite a few books that I'm really, first of all, I really want to keep because I've read some incredible books that I wanted to collect, but also I want to buy some more books that I'm really excited to read. And so I just need to make some room on my shelves. And this is one that just kept kind of dropping down the priority list. And unfortunately, I have to get rid of it. So I'm sorry, Brian Staveley. But I'm just going to have to get rid of this one. I'm going to donate it, whatever. That is another one, Brian Staveley's The Emperor's Blades. I'm going to throw a few more in here just as a bit of a twist. And this is actually, I'm going to unhaul one of my favorite series by one of my favorite authors. And I'm actually going to get rid of The Faithful and the Fallen by John Gwynne. Now, if you guys know me and if you guys have watched this channel for any amount of time, you know I love John Gwynne. You know Faithful and the Fallen is one of my favorite series of all time. I share that sentiment with a lot of people. I'm actually going to do a reread of it probably next year. I have all these books in ebook format. I have them in audiobook. I have them in the not mass market, but the UK trade papers are behind me. There's this set here. I just didn't want to pull them all out. And they're a little bit bigger than a North American mass market paperback, but they are definitely smaller than the nice Orbit, or is it Tor? It's definitely Orbit, floppy paperbacks, the trade paperbacks that you get in Canada or the US or other places. So I read them. I loved them. I'm going to reread them. I have all of John Gwynne's books. I've read the Bloodsworn Saga. I've been saving the Of Blood and Blown trilogy because I want to kind of hang on to that and still have something by John Gwynne to read. But I think I'm going to be reading those pretty quick because it's like a sequel to The Faithful and the Fallen. It takes place 100 or 200 years later. And that one is a little divisive. Some people like the first series more than this one. Some people say that this one was a great addition to the Banished Lands saga. So basically, the reason for me getting rid of these is I prefer to have everything in a matching set, and I love the Orbit floppy trade paperback. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to reacquire. Like I said, I already own the ebooks. I already have the audiobooks. I don't want to buy 15 copies of the same book, but what I'm going to do is get rid of these ones. I'm going to find a great home for them. I'm going to expose someone new to John Gwynne, which excites me immensely. And I'm going to start acquiring all of the Faithful and the Fallen books in whatever way I can, even if I have to buy them new. But I'm trying to find them used, and I've already found Valor. So I like these editions, these ones that have the color, and they're the big floppy Orbit trade paperbacks. And so I'm going to replace that set with these ones so that they all match and everything's going to make sense. And then hopefully I can acquire all of them before my reread next year. I already have the audiobooks, so if I don't have these yet, that's okay. I'm just going to, listen to them on audio because I think I'll probably be able to like breeze through those because I love the story. I already know the story and I just want to consume it one more time because it was such a awesome read. Like I said, it's one of my favorite series. So I'm going to be getting rid of all the Faithful and the Fallen, but only because I want to replace them with the editions that I really like so that they all match my other John Gwynne books because he's an auto-buy favorite author of mine. So that's it, guys. That's my book Unhaul. I'm going to be loading up all my free little libraries around town. I might actually do a giveaway for some of these. I'm not sure yet, but somehow I'm going to find most of these a proper new home and hopefully get someone new to enjoy a lot of these books. And so that's it, guys. That's it for this video. I appreciate you hanging out with me. Thanks for subscribing. Thanks for watching. Leave a like on the video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I will catch you guys soon on the next one.